Thank you.
Good morning, all. Honorable Professor, Principal Gopakumarji, Honorable all academic members, and my student friends. My introduction went on and on. Probably could have cut it down, and it increased my TRP beyond its necessity. Every bureaucrat has all this what he said about me, and you should not, you just forget that what was told about me. Today we are brought in here this morning, winter morning, crisp morning, on one topic, and that is your enforcement of constitutional values and the role of bureaucracy. Being a former bureaucrat, I am not going to deal or dwell on the textbook conception of about the constitutional values and role of bureaucracy. I will narrate and engage yourself in a dialogue about the practicalities of role of bureaucracy, not a theoretical concept, but a concept that is existing today. What is being practiced today, and whether it is right or wrong, and whether we have lived up to the expectations of the Constituent Assembly and those who adopted the Constitution, those who devised the Constitution, those who give their time, their wisdom for drafting this Constitution. And today, in this 21st century, whether you are capable of understanding this, whether you have got that bearing, whether everything is going wrong, or if there is something wrong, or everything is going right, then what is that right? And if it is going wrong, then how to recorrect the course of what is happening today, especially in terms of the constitutional schemes and in particularly constitutional values. Now, you being the first year students, probably you may not have been taught about what are the constitutional values. I am not going to deal on the constitutional values because it itself is a very vast topic which may take hours together on every such constitutional value. I leave it to that. And then enforcement of these constitutional values, it will also take a few hours of explanation. So I take it as granted that you all know what are the constitutional values. I will straightway go directly to the role of bureaucracy in enforcement of constitutional values. What is the role of bureaucracy? What is the role of this behemoth, monstrous, large bureaucracy in this country, which is in crores? Whether they are living up to their expectations, whether they are doing their job correctly, or whether they are being just nurtured as parasites on this country. You must really understand what exactly is the thing, and probably you may have some perception about bureaucracy in this country. I do not know what perceptions you are carrying, and during the dialogue, I may ask you what is your perception about bureaucracy. What do you consider as a chief secretary, whether he is performing? You may ask whether the election commission is performing. You may ask whether police commissioner is performing. You may ask whether municipal commissioner is performing. You may ask whether a patuari, constable, whether they are performing. What is the answer? What is the answer? You answer yourself. Whether the bureaucracy in this country is performing or not, you ask yourself. Whether you are satisfied with their performance or not, and then you will get the answer. You have to think about it. You just don't have to read what is coming to you. You have to think about whether they are performing their role or whether they are just being a parasite on this country. And when I say parasite, because bureaucracy is funded from the blood, hard work of citizens through the taxes they pay. And when this was discussed in the Constituent Assembly about the bureaucracy, there was one Mr. Iyengar from Madras Presidency, who was the member of the Constituent Assembly, And it was debated what kind of bureaucracy we want in this country. Long debate whether we should continue with the ICS, which was the premier bureaucracy at the time of British people, and then whether we should continue with that. And they, of course, agreed upon having Indian Administrative Service and, of course, the entire machinery of the services, administration. But Mr. Iyengar said that, can we have these heaven-born people to govern us? He used the word heaven-born. Well, ISIS people were heaven-born. Like, okay, they are elite, coming from competition, and then they were held in high esteem. That, oh, they're IAS, they're IPS, they're ICS, they're IRS, and they're very highly level intellectual people. He said whether they will be doing service to the people of this country. And he had an objection, and very valid objection. At that time, the secretary of the government that time was earning 4,000 rupees per month as salary. And what was the per month? 4,000 rupees per month. And what was the average per capita income of Indians? 100 rupees per annum. See the difference. Mr. Iyengar said, my average Indian's income, per capita income is 100 rupees per annum, and Secretary of India, like me, that time, whosoever was my predecessor there, was earning 4,000 rupees per month, plus perks, plus car, plus residence, 5-acre residence, everything, and pension. Then he said, whether we have to have such kind of bureaucracy, whether they will be able to do any justice to people. If he is living in such a flashy life, whether he will have some sympathy, empathy for the people who are earning just on an average 100 rupees per annum. And he spoke about it. And you can visit those debates in Constituent Assembly. Some of they are also published, some of they are in the documents, like what he said. He had written arguments also that time. Ananta Sayanam Iyengar, that was his name. Of course, many took objections to this. But then Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, he said that, okay, I agree with you that they are earning so much, but can we really break down and bring it to the level of the common man's earning? We should not be. What we should be striving at them is that whether we create a bureaucracy which can hold this country together post-independence. Our objective should not be how much we are paying. Our objective should be how they are holding this country together and how we can progress after 150 years of subjugation. That should be our objective. And he spoke at length. In fact, on that day, his speech was the longest speech. He spoke in Hindi, which is translated in English if you have that. But then he said, if you want to have them, then have them for the development of this country. Salary could be negotiable. We can think about them. But we need to have bureaucracy as robust as it could have strength to hold this country together and progresses further. And before the constitution was enacted, first batch of IAS, successor of ICS, he addressed them in Metcalfe House in Delhi, first batch of IAS. And he said, I want you to be steel frame bureaucracy. I want you to be steel frame, very robust, very strong. That was his first address, and therefore he is called as Iron Man of India. He wanted everything to be very strong, and he envisioned a very strong bureaucracy in the country for enforcement of constitutional values. This was the basic thing for him. Whatever the constitution we are going to have, that time constitution was not there. But whatever it is there has to be machinery to implement those values and keep this country together. And friends, that constitution, which is created by far the longest, I hope nobody has created longer. Of course, there was one longer constitution of Yugoslavia, but that country disintegrated into many countries. For some time, Yugoslavian constitution was longer than Indian constitution. But now today again, since that country doesn't exist, we are the country having longest constitution, and that has kept this country together through the enforcement of its values. Whether it is as expected by the creators of the constitution or it is not as per the expectations that allow, that apart. But it has held this country together and it is moving on right path. That is one thing about the constitution and the vision of the Constituent Assembly. Today I am talking to lawyers. And I have a special frame of reference for the lawyers. Lawyers were at the forefront of the freedom struggle. Mahatma Gandhi was a lawyer. Jawaharlal Nehru was a lawyer. Vallabhbhai Patil was a lawyer. Ambedkar was a lawyer. And there are too many. They were at the forefront. They were the leaders. They had envisioned how to drive away the Britishers. Post-independence, they were the people who put the foundations of this country, how it will progress. Post-independence, whether the lawyers are still at the forefront to run this country or not, that question you must ask yourself. Do we have lawyers today who are leading the governments? Do we have? Or do we have people who are not as experienced or as educated? The question you must come. And the answer must come from you. And you as young lawyers, you must imbibe the kind of legacy that lawyers left on this country through their freedom struggle, through the early years of development of this country, and whether now you can still participate in the future. And if you do that, then the enforcement of constitutional values could be as per the expectation of the creators of the Constitution. Now we'll come to the role of bureaucracy. Why bureaucracy? Why are you seeking bureaucracy? We have only 3 arms under the Constitution, that is the your parliament, executive and judiciary. So we are not saying today's topic is not enforcement of constitutional values, role of parliament, role of executive or role of judiciary. We are talking about only bureaucracy. Where does bureaucracy fit into these 3? Whether they are part of parliament, whether they are part of executive or they are part of judiciary. Where do they fit in? They are part of the executive. Are they government? Is the bureaucracy a government? In common man, you are a lawyer, so you know that. Common man perceives that yes, bureaucracy is the government. Adhikari hai, officer hai, bada saab hai. So they are the government. Even constable on the street, you are feared if you cut your lane, and if you see a constable there standing, then he is there. You get instant fear because he is the government, representative of the government, he is the government. So it's a perception that bureaucracy is the government, part of the government. No, bureaucracy is not the government. It is just a tool of government. Under the Constitution, the only 3 arms are there: Parliament, comprising President, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and the governments. And the governments under Article 12, like we have the state. And then you have judiciary, which is independent, which is part of you. Like you people are, like going to do good or bad of this country in judiciary. Last 3-4 weeks, I was in Supreme Court on 5 occasions. In my experience, I do not want to share with you. So therefore, I am saying, whatever you want to do with the judiciary in this country in the future, that is in your hands. But let's not discuss that. Let's restrict ourselves to the role of bureaucracy in enforcement of what are the values, constitutional values. What are these values? And what are they supposed to enforce? rule of law, then what are these? What are the values? So to make it very, concise, I have enumerated them, and I will just read out it to them so that we get real bearing, so that we can move forward. Sovereignty. You know sovereignty? Sarvabhaumatva in Marathi and Hindi, you can call it. Then socialism. Why socialism is coming? Why coming? Because we the people solemnly resolve to constitute a sovereign secular democratic republic. That's the value. What are the values? Sovereignty, socialism, secularism, democracy, political, social and economical, justice, social, economic and political, liberty through expression, belief, worship, equality, dignity, rule of law, as you said, fraternity and unity, human dignity, federalism and constitutional morality. Now, this is upon the President, Parliament and the judiciary. They have to enforce these values collectively. Constitution is a document. It's a legal document as well as a social document. So voter also controls it indirectly and directly. So therefore, it is the duty of all these three arms to uphold the values, constitutional values. And I don't want to go into the Keshwananda Bharati, that what constitution can be changed, what cannot be changed and all that. That you will learn and you will answer in your answer papers that. But then this is the basic values you cannot tinker with. These are the values. These are sacrosanct. And these values are to be upheld at any cost. And therefore, even if the parliament fails, even if the executive, this political executive fails, even if the judiciary fails, the part 14 of the constitution is that bureaucracy should be there, step in to enforce the constitutional values. Are you with me? Let all the arms fail. But part 14, and in that debate, part 14 is not discussed as much, but that is the spirit of part 14 of the constitution. And part 14 probably all of you know, where the services under the state. State means like again your Article 12. Why bureaucracy? Bureaucracy has history as old as democracy itself. But this is a false statement. Bureaucracy has a history as old as being a chieftain of a tribe somewhere in Africa. Like there is a chief of that tribe, but there is somebody to help him. Somebody is to hold his staff. Somebody is carry his materials. So bureaucracy since beginning, bureaucracy is there when emperor is there, bureaucracy is there when king is there as a support system. But there is basic difference between bureaucracy in democracy and bureaucracy in non-democratic institutions of governance. Maybe dictator and all those as that. When first experiment of democracy was introduced, when was it? Greece. When was it? 5008 by Clisthenes. But we forget our past. 6th century BCE in Vaishali, now it's in Bihar, there used to be Mahajanpads and they were elected. So basic democracy structure as we know today was in India. Of course, then Bengal, Gopal and all those things and Sanghas, they were there, but they are not very well documented. During Alexander's period also there is some documents by Greek again that the portions which are now in Afghanistan, Pakistan, they also had the democratic institutions. But by and large, as you said, it is Greece, Clisthenes, 5008. So today it is like 2200 and say about 33 years ago, democracy came in. But it was criticized by the then thinkers, Aristotle, Plato, and everybody, that elected representatives cannot always be intellectual. They cannot always be trained to handle the statecraft. And every periodically, maybe 4 years, 5 years, they will be changed. So there will not be continuity. And therefore, democracy is not a good form of government. That was what Plato said, Aristotle said. But this was a lacuna in democracy. To fill that gap, bureaucracy was conceptualized one such solution, and since then, bureaucracy has taken the role to be intellectual support, continuity, and then impartiality. Intellectual, trained, impartiality, all these factors were like filled in, and since then it is going on. Of course, democracy metamorphosed, like your Magna Carta in 1215, Glorious Revolution 1787, separation of legislature and judiciary through American Constitution, all that. But judiciary has remained as an integral part of the democracy. When we started devising Indian democracy, Indian Constitution, all such parameters were studied, and we wanted to have the best democracy in the world. Best democracy in the world. And it was also conceptualized that we are a very vast country, and this vast country is with different types of cultures, different languages, people with different aspirations, people with different religious thoughts. So to do that, to have this country, to remain, keep this country cemented together, apart from the legal framework of Constitution, we need to have some machinery to implement that. And therefore, the bureaucracy was created as one of the major enforcer of values of Constitution. And therefore, Part 14 was incorporated in that. Today, if something happens, we blame politicians. Politicians are punching bag. ये गलत किया है, वो गलत किया है, वो आमदार खराब है, वो नगर सेवक खराब है, मुख्यमंत्री खराब है, प्राइम मिनिस्टर खराब है. We do that, isn't it? But Constitution says no. There could be like this. Politicians could be like this. They are bound to be like this. On popular votes, some people with not right frame of mind can get elected, but that doesn't affect the continuance of this country on a democratic path. Even if may have communist ideology, one political party may have communist ideology, some party may have some religious ideology, some may have some disruptive ideology like nationalism, but no, there has to be some machinery, some framework to counter all this and keep this country running and on the progressive path. And therefore, bureaucracy's role was cast in iron, that they are supposed to keep this running without getting affected with different ideologies, religiosities, people getting elected with criminal backgrounds and all that. So this was the thing that was kept in mind at that time when the Constitution was being framed, when being drafted. Now, let's come to the practical views. Some of you may say that may disagree with me, and I often raise these questions on who's responsible for the mess that we are in. Today is my post on Facebook that what happened yesterday in Maharashtra about the local self-government elections. I don't know whether you are using newspapers or watching news, but it was a fiasco, a grand fiasco. And I asked the question, who's responsible? Whether the election commissioner, chief secretary, additional chief secretary, home, collector, district superintendent of police, or political side. And the comments keep on coming differently, but majority of the people blame the voters and the politicians. Because we keep the official machinery, officers on a very high esteem. वो बहुत अच्छा है. IAS ऑफिसर तो इतने 13 लाख में से सिर्फ 150 आते हैं. वो बहुत इंटेलेक्चुअल होते हैं, बट पॉलिटिशियंस डू नॉट अलाउ देम टू वर्क. डिप्टी कलेक्टर्स तो MPSC से आते हैं, बहुत अच्छे होते हैं, but politicians do not allow them to work. So bureaucracy is kept on a very high pedestal level. They are good, they are honest, they are effective, but politicians do not allow them to work. Means what? Politicians do not allow them to enforce the constitutional values. So they become like, okay, हम बहुत अच्छे हैं लेकिन हमें काम नहीं किया जाता है. That's what they, and we all agree. Officer बहुत अच्छा है, he is very nice, very honest. But what to do? No. Constitution doesn't allow this thought. What Constitution says and what Constitution has done? Constitution has envisaged that there could be wrong politicians. One thing you must keep in mind, that government is politicians. The government it comprises of people's representatives. They are supposed to be politicians only. They run the government. They make the laws. But then there could be some politicians who could be pressurizing the administration. And to counter this pressure, wrong pressure, then there is provision in the Constitution from beginning. It is not added subsequently through some amendment, Part 14. And what is that? They are given the highest shield. Bureaucracy is given highest shield, highest possible shield to implement or enforce the constitutional values. Nobody can say that, no, I cannot do it because there is pressure from politicians. I cannot do it because I will be removed. I cannot do it because I will be harassed. No. Constitutional values are to be enforced because you are given shield. You know Karna? You know Karna in Mahabharata?
Yes, sir.
He is given shield. There are shields. What do you call in Marathi or Hindi? कवच. उससे भी ज़्यादा बड़ा कवच ब्यूरोक्रेसी को कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने दिया है कि लेट एनीथिंग हैपन, nobody is going to trouble you, nobody is going to harm you. And what is that? There are 3-4 things. First, bureaucracy, right from peon, lowest functionary, to the highest IAS officers, they are recruited not on the recommendations of politicians, so that tomorrow, once he joins the service, he has to listen to politicians because he appointed him. No. It is the independent mechanism under the public service commissions or lower commissions or some competitiveness. So they are independent of political interference from the constitution. At the national level, we have Union Public Service Commission, which is independent body. Then we have state public service commissions, and at the lower level we have different bodies which are not connected with politicians. So neutrality is the basic. You cannot come under the pressure of any politicians. Then second is about competitiveness. The one who may be belonging to any caste, who may be rich, who may be poor, who may be coming from any part, but he is intellectual, he is going to get selected. Competitiveness. And then that benefits the country, that highest intellectual people, be at even peon's level. There is interview and all that happens, or the higher marks. Some kind of filter is there. So intellectualism. Then third and most important is removal from the service. Nobody can remove you from service. That is in the Constitution, Article 311. Nobody can remove. If you have to be removed, there has to be inquiry. And after inquiry, if you are found to be guilty, then your appointing authority only can do it, not subordinate. But there also you have got checks and balances. You can go to the administrative tribunals, High Court, Supreme Court, President. So virtually, nobody can be removed from the service for doing anything. If you are doing something honest. If you are dishonest, then of course you are used to suffer. So if somebody pressurizes you, politician or MLA or chief minister or for that matter even prime minister, you are not supposed to listen to any wrong command. You are not supposed to listen to any wrong command. Because what will happen? They will say, okay, we remove you. Can they remove you? No. There has to be inquiry. Inquiry is independent and it will go on. Ultimately, it will be found that, okay, that was a wrong pressure, wrong command, and therefore he resisted and therefore he cannot be removed. So this is the shield. And this shield doesn't stop here. This shield goes little beyond. And it goes where? If how these pressures can be countered. They have been governed by all India conduct rules. They are governed by all the state rules for all the bureaucracy. What are the rules? If you take the IAS, IPS and IFS and other officers in Maharashtra, they have got Maharashtra Civil Services Conduct Rules. Every state has got that. What do the rules say? If there is any pressure. Now, you are performing constitutional duty as far as the values, but somebody is putting pressure on you against the constitutional values. Do something wrong. Give this land, government land, to my company illegally. This is a wrong command, isn't it? It's a wrong command. So if I resist, then I find consequences. But what rules say? If somebody gives you wrong command orally, writing nobody gives. Writing nobody, wrong thing, pressurous writing nobody gives. It is always oral. For that oral there is rule. What rule says? If somebody gives or pressurizes you to do something illegal, out of way, against the values of the constitution, and then it also includes the legal framework and all that, then what you have to do is, you have to put it in writing as an official note that Mr. So-and-so, if you have given this command, which is not in keeping with the constitution, not in keeping with the law, not in keeping with the rules, and therefore, I am not going to implement it. This is for your information. Then he has to write something on that. Will he write? He doesn't write anything. So, this is the basic thing, that the enforcement of constitutional values is in the hands of bureaucracy. If they decide across the country, nothing wrong is going to happen in this country, right up the lowest level from there to the cabinet secretary, highest bureaucrat in the country. That is there. Now, there is another shield provided for the people now. Politicians, they come and go. Every 5 years they are supposed to come and go. But during that tenure, they may do something which will harm the constitutional values. Now, after their tenure is over, if there is a minister and next time he is not made minister, but backdated, he can write something and they go, I did give this order during my tenure. He may take that stand. But constitution has made a provision, Article 77 for the union government and Article 166 for the state governments. What does it say? Under that article, you have to have rules of business, how government should conduct itself. And under the rules of business, the instruments of government, what are the instruments? Laws, even constitutional amendments, your government resolutions, your circulars or whatever the government's commands, could be signed only by the bureaucracy and not politicians. So today, if Chief Minister takes some decision, and if it is wrong, and if the Secretary doesn't sign it, it doesn't become a command. Now, if this is the case, then why all wrongs are happening? Why we feel that something wrong has happened? Because the bureaucracy has failed to enforce the constitutional value. Politicians are likely they should be good, but even if they are not good, it is in the hands of bureaucracy how not to implement this or why not to implement it. There are many such provisions. Now we will say that they will be, if they are very strict and they enforce the constitutional values, then they will be transferred. Isn't it? Yes. Transferred. And fear of transfer. Why you should have fear of transfer? Once you are in service, before you are in this, you do not have service, what you ask? I want a service. But once in your service, I want a particular post. Why do you want a particular post? Or why do you want a particular station only? Why not Gadchiroli or Chandrapur? Why Mumbai or Pune? That is the bureaucracy's selfish, greedy nature. Constitution doesn't allow it. Where you are posted, you are supposed to go there. But then, of course, it happens very often, and that's why one retired cabinet secretary TVSR Subramaniam and 84 others, they went to Supreme Court. There is a lot of political influence in transferring the officers who are doing good work in this country, and Supreme Court must step in. And 2013, Supreme Court gave a ruling that there should not be unrestricted powers to the ministers or those who transfer at their fancies and whims. There has to be fixed tenure, and that's why all across the country, through the law, fixed tenure of minimum 2 years has been enacted, that officers or the employees cannot be removed before their tenure. Of course, second was that the CM, Chief Minister or the Minister, should not have unfettered power to transfer. They should be advised by some people, and the Supreme Court called it civil services boards. For example, if an IAS officer will be transferred, CM cannot do it. There will be a civil services board under the Chief Secretary and 2 more members. And if, say, Pune Municipal Commissioner or Pimpri-Chinchwad Municipal Commissioner to be transferred before completion of 2 years, then that board will consider his case. And they will say that why he should be transferred, why he should not be transferred. He should be transferred, then there has to be inquiry, why he should be transferred. And that board will recommend to the Mr. Chief Minister, no, you cannot transfer him. And then CM will not transfer him. So it is in the hands of bureaucracy how to keep this administration running in a very transparent manner, robust manner. So Supreme Court has again another shield. No, how many shields you want? Shield again, your abrupt transfers also it is there. So it is, if the bureaucracy decides, and I am coming to the role, nothing wrong is going to happen in this country. You cannot blame just the political side. It is, if something wrong is happening, it is only the bureaucratic side. But unfortunately, for last 76 years, people in this country are blaming politicians only. And the bureaucracy is very happy. Let them fight themselves, voters and politicians. We are safe. So we are always safe. We complete our tenure, we get pension, and we are happy. So what Mr. Anger said during the debates of Constitutional Assembly, that the secretary earning 4,000 rupees per month cannot be aware of what kind of life is being faced by a person who is earning 100 rupees per annum. And this is true even today. We are appeasing politicians. Whatever they are saying, we follow that. And we are the main culprits in this country for not enforcing the constitutional values, if at all we are not enforcing. And there is a case that we are not enforcing most of the times. And therefore, so many cases of corruption, so many cases of fractures in the society, so many conflicts, so many economic inequalities. Now, this is the scenario. Now, if we come to, we'll take small examples in the Constitution, the values. Now, directive principles. Part 4, if I am not wrong. You are the law students. Article 36 or 38? 36 starts with 36 or 38, whatever it is. What does it say? Directive principles are not justiciable. Are they justiciable? No. They are not justiciable. And we stop there. Then is it just for the filling the pages? If they are not justiciable? But we forget the next sentence. But that these directive principles shall, the principles governing the governance. And all laws must comply with that. Must, shall. We forget that. And that's the role of bureaucracy. If you want to have the robustness in the governance, then it is the role of bureaucracy to go before the politicians that this is what we want and this is what the policy should be. Of course, government's bureaucracy's role is dual. One is giving advice to the political leadership at the senior level and implementers. These are two. Now, as advisors, they must pressurize the political leadership, cabinets, national and central level, state level, that these are the directive principles which must enforce. Let them say no. But unfortunately, bureaucracy doesn't do that. Otherwise, the country could have been on a different trajectory. Now, take example, the country or the state shall strive to minimize economic inequality. That is the directive principle. Now, can anybody tell that which is the scheme in this country which is there to minimize economic inequality? Which is the scheme? Why some bureaucrat, chief secretary, principal secretary, secretary did not put up before government? This is the directive principle. We should be part of the governance system and we must implement that, and this is economic inequality, we must bring it down. Now, is there any economic inequality? Who said that? We are saying. The bureaucracy should say that they should measure, and we have departments for that, Department of Economics and Department of Statistics. Do they tell this country, you people, me, that whether there is economic inequality? They are not saying. It is their duty of the bureaucracy to tell the country, yes, economic inequality is there, and whether it is increasing or decreasing. Increasing. And what is the measure? Gini's coefficient, which is measured from 0 to 1 and which is increasing. Now, if it is democracy's one of the roles as enshrined in the constitution is that to minimize economic inequalities, and last 75 to 76 years, if you are not able to even stabilize it and if you are going in another direction, then bureaucracy has failed in enforcing the constitutional values. This is one example. I will give on each and every article how they have failed. But because of paucity of times, I am not doing that. Another article in the same thing, directive principles, that the economic, these establishments, commercial establishment shall make the workers as a part of the management team. It is in the constitution, directive principles. Has there been any act in any state or the national level where the companies are supposed to be incorporating the laborers in their management? Is there any law? No law. So it is for the bureaucracy to tell the government that let's come out with the law that all the establishments should have representation of laborers in the establishment. So it is the failure of enforcement of constitutional values by bureaucracy. There are n number of examples for this. Now we are talking about the EVMs and this and that, politicians. Go beyond politics. Go beyond politics. The basic strength of democracy is what? The choice of every person. And that choice has to be through vote. And that has to be without any doubt. If you see the international organizations which are, publishing every year, there are 4 or 5 organizations about the health of democracies across the world. For example, Economist, the journal Economist, they have this Economist Intelligence Unit, and they rank all these countries every year that whether the democracy is improving or democracy is whether decreasing. And they categorize into 4 categories like full democracy, then hybrid democracy, flawed democracy, and authoritarian rule. We fall, unfortunately, in flawed democracy. We are not full democracy, India. That apart. Now, that also takes into account whether there is economic equality. If your economic equality is increasing, then we come in the flawed democracies or hybrid democracy or go into the authoritarian rule. If it is migrating, improving, then we go into the robust democracy. Now, this is one barometer which bureaucracy should understand, which is there in the public domain, for which they are paid. But Sorry, they are not doing it. And why are not they doing it? Because the expectations of the Constituent Assembly members are thrown to the winds. They are, in Mr. Iyengar's words, heavenly born. They are heavenly born. We don't care for the people. We care for just ourselves. And this country, young generation, must realize that it is the bureaucracy's failure in this country. That is, and if you ask me my 34 years experience in government, forget about the private sector, whatever good has happened in this country today could be attributed mainly, I am not saying everything, mainly to the visionary politicians. If you leave to the bureaucracy, nothing would happen. This must be shocking to you. Your perception is that bureaucracies are the intellectual people and they do these policies and do that. No, that is misconception. It is because of the political vision these things are happening, and this has, I will give n number of examples in this country what has happened. Like say for example, 5-year economic plan and annual economic planning plans for the country which Jawaharlal Nehru himself dictated to his PA, to everything, like even today, whatever is happening, it's coming from there. Unfortunately, whatever wrong is happening, bureaucracy has become too spineless to counter it. In fact, if you are asking me what is missing in the bureaucracy, and the main organ missing is spine. It's a very serious, health condition. Bureaucracy's spine is missing. And therefore, the value, the enforcement of constitutional values is also suffering because of that. I will just give one example, and which is current one. Ladki Bahin Yojana. You know that? Burning issue. Now tell me, how many morchas were there to give us this Yojana? No, how many were there to give us this Yojana? Well, nobody asked for it. Was there any single letter that please give us this Yojana? Was it necessity? Nobody assessed it. Now, what is the bureaucracy's role? Had I been the secretary in that department, I would have said, no, there is no need. And this is what my note is, that political leadership have to really counter it. Otherwise, they do not overrule it. Otherwise, somebody goes to court howls of them. If bureaucracy is telling you this, why did you do this? But no, we also give a note, yes, we must start, Ladki Bahin Yojana. Now, let me take back you a few decades ago. 1972. Many of you must not have been born also, including the academics. You must not have been born. I was born. 3-4 years in Maharashtra, there was famine, no rains. Even very large scale landowners were also on the road, nothing to eat, shortage of water. So government was at, what to do now? The entire Maharashtra was reeling under famine, scarcity. So that time they could have said, okay, every family we are giving 1,500 rupees to support them. Easiest thing, because it was needed. There were morchas that how we are going to survive. So large scale protests going on that government should do something. And it was very easy for the government to give them some financial support. Okay, go buy something like what Ladki Bahin is doing today. No. That time one bureaucrat who said, no, we have to support them, but not this way. He wrote a note that, okay, we should give them job. And that was how employment guarantee scheme, Rozgar Hami Yojana, was born. So he said, okay, we will give you jobs wherever you want. Roads, water conservation, soil conservation, anything. But you come there, you do the work, and you will be paid. And you will be given free food. Sukdi was the food. So, what happened? This really saved the state. Governments spent the money, but in creation of assets, good roads, water conservation, soil conservation, that increased the productivity of the state. that also stopped migration of people from Maharashtra to other states. So it was even socially needed activity. They did not give this Ladka Bahu and Ladki Bahin because that time bureaucrats were enforcing the constitutional values and not giving dole outs like what is happening today. So the bureaucracy's spine started losing over a period of time. And today we are spineless. So mark my words, if something wrong is happening there, then probably bureaucrat is at the fault. If there is somebody that bureaucrats wrote a note and then politicians overruled it, then they are responsible. But give me one example. Give me one example. I don't find any. Now you will say that how can it be done? Like, such a large scale political clout is there and pressure is there and then your family and all that, and it cannot be done. I say it can be done. And not theoretically. Some of the examples I don't want to give, like unless I am going to write a book on that. I'll just one or two examples. Now, what is the service that Constitution is supposed to give you? Services at the prices that are charged to you through fees, isn't that? Let's say, for example, you go for taking a driving license. What is the fee? 150 rupees. You pay and you should get driving license if you pass that test. Are we getting that 150 rupees? Are you getting the driving license for 150 rupees?
No.
How much you have to pay? 2000 as what?
Without receipt.
Without receipt. That is the bribe money. Constitutional value is, violated. What Constitution says? The fee that is charged. And what is fee? Fee is the service charge. The element is not like tax. Fee is the service charge. So you should get it 15 rupees, 150 rupees. No, but
What is that? 50 rupees another for medical.
oh, what is there? What is there? But
200 rupees.
your
They are
charge.
increasing it.
But then you are charged over and above that without receipt. That is a bribe money. And how much is the bribe money? In Maharashtra, can you imagine how much could be the bribe money annually they are collecting?
Some crores.
How many? I was transport commissioner in 2015. And I calculated it, not theoretically. I confiscated the record of some of the agents. All RTO departments, they work through agents. And I calculated it, number of agents, so much transactions and all these things. They are very honest in keeping the transaction, how much is collected, how much is given to which officer and which employee. Very nice. That time it was 1700 crores of bribe money in 2015. Isn't that a violation of the constitutional value? Transport commissioner gets salary, car, bodyguard, nice office, and then residential accommodation. And from 1950 onwards, what is he doing? He has allowed to create one very huge dalal or agents network. Now, is it possible to break it? No, कैसे करेंगे यार, वो तो मिनिस्टर बैठा है ऊपर, कैसे करेंगे? ऐसा ही है ना? But what I did, I said in next 15 days, I do not want a single agent in my office anywhere in the state. If I find that, I will not suspend the assistant commissioner, assistant RTO or motor vehicle. I will suspend the RTO. And believe me, within 15 days, all agents went out. Nothing, zero. Something could be happening here and there. Zero for 3 months. Maharashtra was without agents. That could be done. So this was like, I could have also taken the stand that no, abhi minister of बैठे हैं. I could have also taken my some share. वो सब collect होता है ना 1700 crore का, उसमें से मुझे भी आता था ना. So it is possible. If somebody is saying that no, it is not possible, it is just possible. And it is possible with proven thing. Now this is lot implementation. Of course, I was transferred because without agents, how can you be there? So I was transferred. Now this is implementation. Now I'll take in policy level. Now what is policy level? Policy level, you have to have minister's blessing. If they do not approve it, they are the lawmakers. Officers cannot do anything. But my premise that yes, still officers can do anything. There was a time gutka was rampant everywhere. Even school children were affected with gutka and all that. It was freely available in 2011. As a FDA commissioner, I decided to ban gutka, pan masala, and scented supari. All are carcinogenic. All are carcinogenic. So, but it required, like politicians' blessings. I asked my officers, I am doing it. They said, my officer said, no, you cannot do it. We did it in 2003. The court gave stay. And then your minister will not agree. Finance minister will not agree. Cabinet will not agree. I said, nothing doing. School children are getting affected. If those are habitual in having gutka as, old people, let them die. But my young generation should not be affected and I am going to ban it. And I drafted the order that I am banning gutka in Maharashtra and kept it that way. And leaked it out that he is going to ban. Naturally, gutka lobby is very huge. Underworld and everybody. Underworld, how gutka lobby was that time? There was dispute between two gutka kings. And their dispute could not be solved in courts here in India. So they took private flight without visa. They went to Karachi and sat before Dawood Ibrahim and then their dispute was solved. So it's such a huge underworld connection. So that's how gutka was. So I did that. Then they said, no, this man must be transferred. It's a very easy thing. Then I dictated another thing that I am doing such a thing, this thing, that thing, and I will be transferred because of I am doing the good thing. And I was to go to CAT, Central Administrative Tribunal. It's like a court. And I leaked that also. And they said that he is going to get stay about for the transfer, and if he is transferred state, he will be more aggressive. So they did not transfer him. Then I said, I am going to issue this order. So they said, now he cannot be transferred, and now he is going to issue order. So we only do it, and we will be heroes like this government has taken the action that we banned, and they banned the gutka. Of course, our order was mine. I signed it, but they took the credit. But it is possible for the bureaucrats to enforce the values of constitution if they decide. Now, how much is the time? I think time is over. And we are about. So if somebody is saying that no, politicians do not, constitution says that we have to hold the bureaucracy accountable through part 14 of the constitution, that if something is not happening in this country as per the values of the constitution, it is 100% bureaucratic failure and nothing else. Thank you very much. If you got any questions, because this is a very long topic, I tried to compress it in a very small capsule of time. But if you have any questions, you can go ahead, or otherwise we'll close the day. Yes, okay. I want to hear from. I am not well, so therefore I am sorry that there must be some interruptions. I am not well.
Participation in management was there in grade 80s, and the 90s.
The constitutional provision is still there.
And everybody was doing it up.
No, as a law.
Yes, as a law, nahi.
Constitution shall.
Committee was there, workmen, officer was there.
There has to be law. In this country, the constitutional value is that law.
Please share your key takeaways today.
No, mine is not. I spoke. Now for you people to react.
Come up with good reacts,
No. You must share. You must react about your views on what you heard.
सर एक सिंपल प्रश्न आहे.
बोला.
आपण देशाच्या पब्लिक सर्व्हिसमध्ये जवळपास 25 वर्षाचा कालावधी आपण घेतलेला आहे. त्या 25 वर्षाच्या कालावधीमध्ये जेव्हा आपण काम करत होता त्यावेळेस जी संविधानिक मूल्य जी आहेत ही जपत असताना अनेक आपल्याला आव्हाने आली असतील. ह्या आव्हानांमधले सर्वात मोठं आव्हान काय होतं आणि ते आव्हान आपण न्यूट्रलाइज कसं केलं?
असे माझा प्रत्येक दिवस आव्हान होता खरं म्हणजे. प्रत्येक दिवस. आणि मी घरी ऑफिसमधून जाताना एक विचार करायचो की आज संध्याकाळी मी परत येणार नाही आहे या ऑफिसला उद्या सकाळी. कारण मी हे जे काय केलं वाह्यातपणा केला आहे. वाह्यातपणा म्हणजे टू एन्फोर्स द व्हॅल्यू. सो आय विल नॉट कम टुमॉरो. सो देर आर टू मेनी बट विच आय विल रिकाउंट वन. I will relate to you. where you can violate the laws for upholding the constitutional values. And that was the challenge for me. That could have lost my job, that I could have attracted the FIR, and I could have been jailed also. I will be very crisp. There was heavy rain in Mumbai, July 2005, 26 July 2005, and about 900 to 1000 people died. I was collector Nashik. And the history was that whatever the rain or intensity of rain was there in Mumbai, the same rain used to come to Pune and Nashik with the same intensity. So that was my experience. That was my third year of collectorship there. I was horrified that if Mumbai experienced about 900 casualties, Nashik could be more, because Nashik has got that terrain where maximum number of rivers emanate. It's a district of dams and all that, and every year 5 to 10 people used to die because of flooding and all that. Now with this kind of rain, it will be disaster. I was horrified that why did I become collector, or why did I come into service only, because I have to witness now many people will die. Then I said, I had to do something. Then I had 2-3 days in my hand, because to come, the rain comes there, this side, little late. So that was a very long story. I am cutting it very short. I called the this irrigation department people, executive engineer and superintendent engineer. I asked them how much water is there in the dams. They said about 70-80%, because it was July, heavy rains. Then I said, I want to empty them. They said, no, it cannot be done, because it is in the hands of the minister. From their orders come in from Mantralaya, so you cannot do it. I said, my idea is that to empty them, and when rains come in heavy, then I will stop the water in the dam. I will collect the water, and nothing will allow to go down in the rivers, and I can save the people. They said, the idea is good, but it's not in our hands. But then I said, I am the district magistrate also, being collector. I am also collector, but district magistrate. I can direct you to do this, otherwise I will take action against you. That was wrong. District magistrate cannot take any action. With lot of counseling, lot of debate for hours together, they said, okay, we will do it on one condition, that nothing will be on record. And if something is not on record, you go writing order that you ordered us. I said, okay, I am doing that. Now, it was a risk for me. I am asking them to release the water, and if the rain did not come later on, then the entire Ahmednagar district, Aurangabad and Nashik district would have been like dry. No drinking water, forget about irrigation water also. So it would have been like end of my career. But I said, okay, let me take the risk. I asked them to empty this. It was brought down to the level of 30%. Water was released in the rivers and canals, and then it was stopped. After 2 days, very heavy torrential rain came in Nashik, largest in 68 years. Horrific rains. And then we stopped the water in the dams. Not a single life was lost. Not a single life. But that was a big risk. I got a call in the night from one Mr. R.R. Abba, who was Malak Mantri, he was minister, nice minister, Aurangabad. He said, "Hey, tumi kai karta hai? What are you doing? You are releasing water from Nashik and it is coming to Aurangabad district and my villages are going under the... I said, I am not releasing. Rain is so heavy that rain water below the dam, it is causing havoc. He said, how can it happen? He should ask the irrigation department. He inquired the irrigation department, and Nashik was completely saved, but Aurangabad was, under flood. Then he called his collector, now who is the secretary revenue, this Vikas Karge. What collector Nashik did, why did you not do that? Why did you not release the water from this thing? He said, no, it cannot be done. But that was the risk. And I could save many lives in Nashik, but by violating law, but just to enforce the, what is the constitutional value? To safeguard lives is in the constitution. Of course, this was discussed in the cabinet. They congratulated me, but had there been no rains, they would have prosecuted me also. So that was...
इलेक्शन निवडणुकी नगर परिषद आणि नगर पंचायतसाठी सो त्याचं काउंटिंग पुढे गेलेलं आहे 21 डिसेंबरला सो इट इज फॉलो इलेक्शन कमिशन ऑफ महाराष्ट्र दिस मॅनेजर ऑफ द इलेक्शन कमिशन ऑफ महाराष्ट्र and second जो आफ्टर रिटायरमेंट IAS असतील किंवा ज्युडिशियरीमधले सिनियर जजेस असतील त्यांना कुलिंग पिरियड द्यायला पाहिजे. ते जस्ट जॉईन द पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज अँड ॲक्टिवेट इन दी पॉलिटिक्स. सो इट इज इम्पॅक्टफुल ऑन द सोसायटी ॲज वेल ॲज कॉन्स्टिट्युशनल व्हॅल्यू.
Number one, yesterday's fiasco is mainly attributed to the election commissioner only, nobody else. He is at fault. He was not prepared. He did not understand law, but he is not at fault. He is not at fault because he was placed there by government, and the government is at fault to put such inept, weak election commissioner there. There are n number of people in the state, in the country, who could have done better job, but they place somebody who is not at all capable of holding this thing. So yesterday's fiasco. Now, post-retirement assignments, I am completely against it. It is downtown democracy. Now, if you want to have some post-retirement thing, then you start compromising with the politicians even earlier also. You try to toe their line, affecting the enforcement of constitutional values, and therefore, I have on record, I have written to the Government of India and the state government, there should not be, no, forget about cooling period, should not be post-retirement jobs for bureaucracy. There are many wise people in the society, 140 crores of people. You don't have to just like bureaucrats there or judges sitting there who can, control this. No, there are many people. There should not be such appointments, and I am against all these appointments.
प्रशासनात काम करत असताना लॉ ऑफ रूल आणि नॅचरल जस्टिस याचं बॅलन्सिंग कसं साधलं?
Law of rule and natural justice, they go hand in hand. Most of the times, rule of law is natural justice. It is there, ingrained. In very few circumstances, you have that conflict, but almost everywhere, laws are designed to have natural justice. It is there. Laws are based naturally what is required. Like for example, natural justice rule, like female feticide. Female feticide is there. So, number of females being born is going down. The law is that no, there should not be female feticide. But in one case, if there is advanced pregnancy and the child is completely gone, if born, will not be surviving and anything. In that case, then you have to allow, it's a natural justice, abortion. But there, then you have to take a call. But this happens in a very rare circumstances. But natural justice and rule of law go hand in hand.
So you agree with that कि Indians have lacks of civic sense? Indians have lacks of civic sense.
Yes and no. We lack civic sense, but that is everywhere. Man is born like that. Man is born as a free, element, free born. So everywhere, if you take 17th, 15th and 16th and 17th century Europe, it was like this. Not discipline. They enforce discipline through regulations, good cops, good system. So it is the again duty of the law enforcing agencies, government, bureaucracy to enforce regulation. Now if you say tomorrow, no traffic indiscipline, if they start enforcing, then it will stop. They are allowing it, and therefore it is happening. So civic sense is also enforced. A person here in India going abroad, here he follows all the laws because he suffers there if he does not follow. Here he comes, nobody bothers. So it is not the civic sense as a human behavioral issue, it is the enforcement of the discipline by the state.
सर माझा एक प्रश्न आहे की आपण सांगितल्याप्रमाणे एखाद्या विभागामध्ये एखादा IAS अधिकारी चांगल्या प्रकारे काम करतो, परंतु त्याला पॉलिटिशियनच्या दबावामुळे रिमूव्ह केलं जातं, तर खरंच त्याला इन्क्वायरीमध्ये योग्य न्याय मिळतो का? आणि त्याला जोडून दुसरा प्रश्न आहे की तो परत कामावरती जॉईन झाल्यानंतर खरंच त्या ताकदीने दिमागात काम करतो?
ॲक्च्युली काय माहिती आहे हा प्रश्न की त्याची बदली होते. वैयक्तिक लेवलला त्यांनी बदली मांडलीच नाही पाहिजे. हा जॉब आहे, त्याला तीच सॅलरी मिळणार आहे, त्याला तेच पर्स मिळणार आहेत. त्यामुळे त्याचं काही फार वाईट घेण्याचं काही कारण नाही आहे की त्यांनी असं हिरो होण्यात काही कारण नाही. अरे याच्या खूप बदल्या झाल्या, खूप बदल्या होणं म्हणजे हिरोगिरी नाही आहे. प्रॉब्लेम कुठे आहे की आपल्याकडे असे ब्युरोक्रॅट्स आहेत की त्याला बदली केली की असा प्लायबल वीक माणूस तिथे आणला जातो. पण तो जो येणार आहे तो जर तसा वागला तर मग हे कल्चरच बदलून जाईल. त्यामुळे हा त्याचा फायदा तोटा असा आहे की लोक तसे नाहीत, बाकीचे ब्युरोक्रॅट तसे नाहीत, हा आहे. दुसरी गोष्ट अशी आहे की बदली करताना आता पॉलिटिशियनच्या हातात नाही, त्याच्या खाली एक एस्टॅब्लिशमेंट बोर्ड असतं, सिव्हिक सर्व्हिसेस बोर्ड असतं. त्यांनी सांगायला पाहिजे, आणि हे ऑफिसर असतात, ते काय पॉलिटिशियन नसतात, की याची बदली करायची की नाही. त्यांनी थणकावून सांगितलं पाहिजे की याची बदली करायची नाही, पण तेही सांगतात. तिथे काय तिथे राजकीय लोकांना आपण दोष देण्यात अर्थ नाही आहे. हे तुमचेच कलिग्ज असतात. त्यामुळे ब्युरोक्रसीचा स्पाईन गेला असल्यामुळे मग तो बदली होतो. नाही तर ब्युरोक्रसी सांगितलं नाही याची बदली करायची नाही, नाही होणार.
सर, भारताची ब्युरोक्रसी जर जास्तीत जास्त पब्लिक सेंट्रिक जर करायची असेल तर काय रिफॉर्म्स आपल्याला करणं आवश्यक आहे?
लोकांनी जागृत झालं पाहिजे, आणि लोकांनी जे आतापर्यंत पॉलिटिशियनना ब्लेम करतात त्याच्याऐवजी ब्युरोक्रसीना बदल, कारण सगळ्यात जास्त पैसा ब्युरोक्रसी होतो, 50-60% पैसा ब्युरोक्रसी खर्च होतो. त्यांना कुठेतरी रिंगणात घेतलं पाहिजे, मराठीमध्ये रिंगणात घेतलं पाहिजे, नुसतं पॉलिटिशियनना नाही. थँक्यू व्हेरी मच.
Thank you, sir, for such insightful and powerful thoughts. Your words have truly enriched this celebration. Now I would request Vanita ma'am to announce the prize distribution.
अच्छा, ओके.